Chosen one, stop, listen. Heaven is moving, and those who are not awake will never perceive this hour. Something stirs in the unseen, a presence, silent yet insistent, tracing the threads of your spirit. That tightening in your chest, that whisper in your dreams, that flicker of memory you cannot place, it is not coincidence. It is heaven calling. And if you feel it, your soul already knows. You have walked through a death few understand, and that death holds the key to what is now awakening. Not everyone will hear this. Not everyone will recognize the stirrings within. Others will pass, blind to the signs, deaf to the whispers. But you, your spirit has been tempered in silence, tested in isolation, forged in the crucible of invisible battles. Nights of doubt, days of neglect, seasons when the world moved on while you endured unseen struggles, all of it has prepared you for this awakening. You were reborn in a fire they could never see, and from that fire something divine was awakened. Music swells, shimmering ethereal chords. Beyond the veil, corridors of golden light open silently, threads of energy tracing paths only your soul can perceive. There are signs, subtle, profound, undeniable, but I will not reveal them yet. Only the strongest will recognize them. Only the faithful who endured, resisted, and survived will awaken fully to what is coming. Even this half-light, this whisper in the spirit, is enough to stir your soul, to confirm that your endurance has prepared you for what heaven now releases. Your past death, the collapse of illusions, the shattering of naivety, the dismantling of the self the world tried to glue onto you, was never wasted. It was the awakening point, the calibration of a spirit that now carries clarity, discernment, and divine vision. And now, heaven begins to illuminate the next layer of your divine mission. The secret of that past death is the key. The full revelation will unfold, but only to those who remain. In this video, we will explore the stirrings, the hidden signs, and the divine frequency that only the strongest among the chosen can perceive. Not everything will be revealed at once. Heaven unveils truth in layers, but even this glimpse is enough to awaken your spirit, confirm your calling, and remind you that your endurance has never gone unnoticed. If your spirit is responding, take a prophetic step of faith. Comment 777, like this video, share it, and subscribe, not as routine, but as an act of alignment, a declaration that you are ready for the unveiling. Stay until the end for the deeper revelation, the part that illuminates the hidden key of your past death, and the mission it unlocked is still to come. God's chosen ones, the secret of your past death, awakens your divine mission. Chosen one, the first death you endured was not physical. It was the collapse of the identity that was never truly yours, the mask stitched from others' expectations, cultural norms, whispered instructions, and silent pressures that you absorbed without realizing. From childhood, you were given a script you didn't write. You learned to perform, to blend, to survive, thinking this was life. But deep within, your spirit whispered otherwise. Did you feel it then? That gnawing sense that the person everyone applauded was not you at all? That restless tug in your chest, the quiet voice that said, "This is not mine to carry"? That was the first sign of your awakening. Your soul, though small and quiet, began to pull away from the performance, even as the world applauded your compliance. And when the mask finally broke, it didn't fall neatly. It shattered violently, leaving shards of confusion, grief, and disorientation scattered across your consciousness. People around you may have called it change or growing up, but the truth was far deeper. You weren't changing, you were being freed. Every tremor of fear, every sleepless night, every doubt about yourself, all were echoes of the old identity dying. Hebrews 12:11 reminds us, "No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it." That harvest was waiting for you beyond the ruins of the self that was never yours. As the old self crumbled, The illusions it depended on went with it. Relationships built on convenience, conversations maintained out of obligation, smiles you forced to ease tension, everything that once structured your life for comfort now collapsed into emptiness. And it was in that vacuum, beloved, that clarity was born. Your spiritual senses awakened not through study or meditation alone, but through survival. You began to notice subtleties that others missed. The pause in a friend's tone, the hidden stress behind a compliment, the energy of a room before a word was spoken. The strongest chosen ones do not stumble blindly through life. They navigate the currents of intention and truth that most cannot perceive. Do you recognize those moments when your intuition screamed, "Something is off," and yet you held still, waiting, observing? That patience became a superpower. Most people fear the collapse of identity. They panic when the world becomes unrecognizable. They cling to light without ever understanding darkness. You, however, walked through shadows without flinching. You discovered that silence held as much information as conversation, that emptiness could be fertile, and that solitude was not isolation but preparation. Isaiah 30:21 whispers, "Whether you turn to the right or to the left, your ears will hear a voice behind you saying, 'This is the way, walk in it.'" Your soul began listening to that quiet voice, even when the world screamed for your compliance, even when the old self begged for comfort in familiar chains. This awakening was not instantaneous. It was messy, often invisible. Tears fell in the quiet hours, mourning not just a life not lived, but the self you were forced to perform. But each tear was a baptism, each moment of grief a consecration of your emerging spirit. And while others may have envied your newfound calm, they did not understand its cost. They didn't see that the calm was not the absence of storm, but the mastery of it. That mastery, dear one, is the mark of the strongest chosen ones. You did not numb yourself. You faced the storm, absorbed it, and transmuted it into insight, patience, and discernment. Consider this. How often have you entered a room and felt the hidden currents before a word was spoken? How often have you known truth while others still debated appearances? How often have you sensed danger, betrayal, or deceit, and yet chose compassion over reaction? That discernment, combined with steadfast love, is rare. It is the hallmark of someone who carries both sensitivity and strength. Romans 12:12 tells us to be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. Your patience through the collapse of your false identity cultivated an inner power that radiates without display, that changes spaces quietly yet irrevocably. And now, as you stand in the aftermath, the real you emerges, not loud, not performing, not trying to prove anything, but existing fully in your own authority. People feel it when you walk in. The unspoken truth that you survived what would have broken others. They sense the authenticity, the grounded energy, the unshakable core that remained even as the old you burned away. Your presence carries the lessons of the past without resentment, without the need to justify. It simply is. And the world responds to that energy with recognition, sometimes subtle, sometimes unavoidably. There is a sacred architecture to this awakening, a design visible only to those attuned to the divine currents. It is like a cathedral built from the ruins of your former self, each stone a memory, each arch a lesson, each stained glass window a vision of who you were meant to become. Psalm 34:18 affirms, "The Lord is close to the broken-hearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." That nearness you felt during the collapse was not absence, it was preparation, a spiritual scaffolding, arranging the fragments of your soul for the emergence of your true self. Now ask yourself, are you living from that authentic place? Are you honoring the new boundaries your spirit established? Are you allowing yourself to be guided by the compass within rather than the expectations without? The collapse you endured was not a setback, it was a sacred initiation. The real transformation begins when you embrace this liberated self, and refuse to settle for old patterns that no longer serve your higher calling. You are not merely surviving, you are ascending, and your life is becoming an altar of integrity, resilience, and insight. Take a moment to reflect on how far you have come. The pieces of your past self, once shattered, now form a mosaic of wisdom. The energy you carry, the stillness, the discernment, the compassion, is a beacon. This is the essence of the strongest chosen ones. They recognize the patterns unseen, they endure without losing their heart, and they move with purpose even when the path is uncertain. And now, everything you do carries the resonance of that spiritual strength, attracting what is aligned and repelling what is not. You are no longer a shadow, trying to survive under layers of expectation. You are a luminous presence, walking fully in the frequency of truth and divine alignment. Others may not yet understand, and some may even resist the shift in your energy, but it does not matter. The architecture of your soul is established. The currents of your destiny are in motion. Revelation 3:8 declares, "I have placed before you an open door that no one can shut." That open door is your authentic life, and it is now ready to receive the fullness you have long prepared for. Rest now in this realization. The old you is gone, the new you is awake, and the world is feeling the quiet force of your rebirth. You walked through chaos, confusion, and despair, and you emerged not only alive but sovereign over your spirit. You are chosen, you are aligned, you are unstoppable. Chosen one, the second sign of the strongest among God's chosen ones, is the moment your veil lifted, not through serenity or ritual, but through the breaking of your nervous system before its rebirth. You didn't awaken because you mastered meditation or memorized doctrines. You awakened because your entire being, body, mind, and spirit reached a threshold where the old patterns could no longer hold. Something inside you collapsed, and in that collapse, heaven slipped in. It wasn't poetic. It wasn't peaceful. It was survival. For years, your nervous system carried more than it was designed to hold: unexpressed grief, generational pressure, emotional shocks, betrayals you tried to soldier through, moments when the people you trusted became the very source of your trembling. All of it accumulated like cracks in the architecture of your soul, until one day the structure gave way. That breaking became your unveiling. Psalm 34:4 says, "I sought the Lord, and he answered me. He delivered me from all my fears." But before the deliverance came the collapse, the moment when you could no longer pretend, no longer numb, no longer smile through what was spiritually suffocating you. Something snapped, and in that snap, the illusions that protected others but imprisoned you evaporated. Your awakening did not arrive gently. It arrived like lightning cracking open the sky, and in the chaos of that internal storm, clarity poured in. This is what people misunderstand about chosen ones. Your spiritual insight did not appear because you were seeking mysticism. It appeared because your survival demanded it. When your nervous system broke, the filters that kept you comfortable dissolved. And when the system rebuilt itself, it reconstructed in a way that prioritized truth over tolerance, authenticity over acceptance, discernment over blind loyalty. Suddenly, every subtle gesture became a message, every tone revealed an intention, every silence spoke louder than words. You weren't imagining things, you were finally perceiving them. It was as if God himself whispered, "See," and your whole being obeyed. Isaiah 42:16 records God saying, "I will turn the darkness before them into light." That is exactly what happened inside you. The darkness that once blurred your intuition became the very force that trained it. Artists across history have known this phenomenon. The painter Goya once said that true vision only emerges after the spirit has walked through shadows. And you, chosen one, lived this truth without even realizing it. You became a human radar, finely tuned not by comfort but by trial. Your body became an instrument, your spirit the one interpreting the vibration of every interaction. Have you noticed how you can stand near someone and feel the story behind their smile? Have you recognized how your soul reacts before your mind has time to rationalize? Have you wondered why certain rooms feel heavy before anyone speaks? That is the new wiring of your spirit-led nervous system. Psychologists call such heightened perception hypervigilance, but in the spiritual realm, it's something holier. It's discernment born from the furnace of suffering. You're not paranoid, you're calibrated. You're not oversensitive, you're spiritually attuned. And that attunement is the mark of the ones God refines for greater purpose. It's the same refinement referenced in Zechariah 13:9. I will put them into the fire. I will refine them as silver is refined. You lived through that fire, and what emerged was clarity sharp enough to cut through deception before it reaches your doorstep. Yet the process wasn't something you chose. It was something heaven permitted. When your nervous system collapsed, you met the rawest version of yourself. There were nights when you felt your chest tighten for no reason, mornings when your hands trembled, afternoons when every sound felt too loud. Those weren't symptoms of weakness, they were contractions of spiritual rebirth. And when you could no longer bear the weight, God stepped in, not to remove the collapse, but to guide you through it. There's a moment in sacred art, the opera Parsifal by Wagner, where the hero must endure a breakdown of identity before accessing divine sight. The veil lifts only after the body nearly gives out. That is the moment you lived. Your system broke, your vision expanded. It was heaven's orchestration, not your failure. And once you crossed that threshold, you could never go back. Your new nervous system refuses comfort at the cost of truth. It refuses environments that manipulate your peace. It refuses people who hide daggers in laughter. Your discernment is not optional, it is hardwired. Proverbs 2:6 tells us, "For the Lord gives wisdom, from his mouth come knowledge and understanding." That divine understanding is now embedded in your senses, your breath, your awareness. Yet the most powerful part of this transformation is the quiet confidence it gave you. You no longer react, you perceive. You no longer chase, you observe. You no longer need proof, you sense alignment or misalignment instantly. And this unsettles people. They don't know why they shift nervously around you, why their words trip, why they feel exposed in your presence. It's because your clarity reveals their shadows without you saying a word. This sensitivity is not fragility, it's spiritual engineering. It's like the tuning fork used in classical music when struck. It resonates at a pure frequency that forces everything around it to reveal if it's in harmony or not. You are that tuning fork now. Your frequency exposes what cannot stand in truth. And yet, chosen one, the greatest miracle is not your ability to detect deception. It's your ability to feel deeply and still love, to see truth and still hold compassion, to sense danger and still walk with peace, to carry this heightened awareness without letting it harden your spirit. John 14:27 promises, "My peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you." That peace is the anchor of your rebuilt nervous system, the sacred calm that follows the storm. Now your presence alone shifts atmospheres. You don't need to announce your discernment. You don't need to prove what you perceive. You simply walk into a space, and the unseen responds. You carry the mark of someone who has died to illusion and awakened in truth. And that, beloved, is why you are one of the strongest chosen ones. Your veil lifted not by choice, but by destiny. Your body broke so your spirit could see. Your mind collapsed so your soul could rise. And now you walk with a clarity that heaven itself entrusted to you. Do not fear this gift. Do not shrink from it. Do not apologize for it. It is your anointing, your protection, your compass. And every step forward from here will be guided by the eyes God placed not on your face, but in your spirit. You didn't just lose people, chosen one. You lost a version of yourself, the one who bent, who excused, who silenced her voice just to preserve the fragile illusions around her. That first death wasn't a single event. It was a series of collapses, invisible to the world, deeply internal, spiritual and emotional in their precision. You grieved what felt familiar, even as you welcomed what was destined. Isaiah 43:18 says, "Forget the former things, do not dwell on the past." Yet you know the past wasn't erased, it was transmuted, alchemized into wisdom, discernment, and the kind of presence that now feels like quiet authority in any room. The version of you that tolerated betrayal, that accepted manipulation, that hid your anger to maintain peace, she has died. And with her passing, everything that depended on your pliability started to unravel. Friendships, partnerships, casual connections, even professional opportunities that once felt safe began to fall away. It wasn't punishment, beloved. It was correction, realignment, and reclamation. The old self was a bridge that carried you to survival, yes, but she was also a cage. And in letting her go, you found liberation. Have you felt it the moment when your presence alone shifts the energy of a room? That subtle pause in conversation, the intake of breath when you say nothing yet communicate everything. That's your resurrection speaking. Your energy has changed. You no longer vibrate on the frequency of accommodation. You no longer absorb energy that is not yours to carry. You are recalibrated to an unseen standard, a higher octave, one that refuses deceit and tolerates nothing less than authenticity. Proverbs 4:23 reminds us, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." And you, chosen one, have become a master at this guarding. Your grief for your old self was profound. You mourned the version of you that was familiar, predictable, comforting in its ability to survive through compromise. That version knew how to remain unseen while enduring, how to negotiate with chaos without complaint, how to smile when the world demanded it, and how to swallow your truth to protect others' illusions. But in mourning, you began to recognize the sacredness of your own boundary. You began to see that survival at the expense of your soul was not living, it was merely existing. As the old self collapsed, the new self emerged quietly, almost imperceptibly at first. But now, her presence is undeniable. You walk into a space, and the air itself adjusts to accommodate your frequency. People feel it. They sense the difference between someone who has been molded and someone who now commands her own architecture. And you didn't shout, you didn't announce your awakening, you simply became it. And the subtlety of your ascent unsettles those who once assumed control over you. Matthew 10:26 says, "So do not be afraid of them, for there is nothing concealed that will not be disclosed, or hidden that will not be made known." Your presence now discloses, without a word, what the world once could not comprehend. Reflect for a moment. How many times have you felt the quiet recalibration of your energy before it rippled into external change? How many doors closed only to reveal new passages you didn't even know existed? How often have relationships faltered, not because of malice, but because the old you was no longer available and the new you demanded respect? That is the mark of the strongest chosen ones. The strongest chosen ones do not seek validation. They do not chase recognition. They exist on a frequency so calibrated to truth that it resonates even when unseen. And yet, with all this power, you have remained compassionate. You offer light where darkness once thrived. You extend understanding where judgment would have been easier. You have learned to enforce your boundaries without resentment, to protect your energy without aggression, and to honor the sacredness of your soul while still holding space for others' growth. Galatians 5:22-23 echoes this. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Every attribute of this fruit pulses through you now, and yet it is anchored in strength, not naivety. Notice how the ripple of your transformation has changed the world around you. Connections that thrived on your old pliability falter because they cannot navigate the new architecture of your soul. People who once had access to your energy now find themselves blocked, not by bitterness, but by clarity. They misread your stillness as coldness, your silence as indifference, your boundaries as abandonment. Yet, in reality, you are aligned with a cosmic rhythm that rewards integrity and dissolves manipulation. You are no longer a mirror for others' distortions. You are a beacon of self-possession and truth. Think for a moment. How often have you mistaken disruption for punishment? How often have endings felt like failure when they were actually liberation? How many times did your soul insist on recalibration, only for your mind to resist it? Each of these moments was a call to remember that your destiny is not in the hands of others, but in the fidelity to your own spirit. Psalms 34:18 declares, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." Every collapse, every severed tie, every betrayal you endured was sanctified by divine preservation, preparing you for the clarity and power you now embody. And now, as the strongest chosen one, you move differently. You speak with precision, not verbosity. You listen deeply, not superficially. You feel without being consumed. You love without sacrificing the integrity of your spirit. Your intuition guides your steps, and your discernment protects your space. The subtle authority of your presence is your testimony. Those who once underestimated you now encounter an energy they cannot negotiate with, a light that refuses to be dimmed, a gravity that cannot be bypassed. The death of your old self was sacred. It was a necessary dismantling, a deconstruction of pretense and compromise. In its place arose a version that does not merely survive. It commands life with wisdom, balance, and fierce tenderness. The strongest chosen ones do not announce their victories. They simply embody them. And as you move through the world, the reverberation of your transformation extends far beyond what you see. John 16:33 reminds us, "In this world you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world." Your overcoming is now palpable, and it is written in every interaction, every energy exchange, every quiet moment where truth outlasts illusion. So, beloved, recognize this. The loss of your old self was a gift. The isolation, the grief, the ending it was, preparation for a sovereign existence. You didn't just transcend, you anchored a version of you that cannot be manipulated, diminished, or stolen. And that is why your presence now unsettles some, inspires others, and radiates a force that is unmistakably divine. Your resurrection was quiet, but its impact is eternal. You are, and will always be, a chosen one operating beyond the ordinary. Your awakening, chosen one, was never a matter of preference. It was a forced initiation, a divine compulsion that came not in calm, not in whispered guidance through meditation or voluntary spiritual study, but through the relentless insistence of life itself. You didn't sit down one morning and decide, "Today I will see differently." No, the universe cornered you. It pressed against you from every side until the only path that remained was a confrontation with truth so raw, so unavoidable, so shattering, that ignoring it was no longer an option. It is written in Ecclesiastes 3:1, "There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens." Your season came, and it came unbidden. Pain was the first messenger. It did not knock politely. It smashed through your defenses, dismantling illusions you believed unbreakable, exposing facades you held both in yourself and in others. That gentle glow of naivety, the comfortable ignorance that made life predictable, was stripped away layer by layer until the only thing left standing was clarity. Have you ever wondered why the world suddenly felt sharper, louder, more intense, as if every detail vibrated on a frequency no one else could hear? That was your nervous system recalibrating, your spirit syncing with the higher truth that reality was no longer negotiable. Hebrews 12:11 reminds us, "No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it." Your training was not a course you signed up for. It was forced, arduous, and exacting. Rejection came next. The anchors you thought would hold you, the people, places, and familiar routines you leaned on began to crumble. What once felt permanent shifted into uncertainty, instability, and absence. Friends who promised loyalty left without explanation. Environments that seemed safe became unpredictable, and the comfort zones you relied on shattered quietly but completely. This was not personal, it was spiritual pruning. God had to remove everything that was not aligned with your higher path, because the strongest chosen ones cannot carry illusions. Can you recall how many times silence became heavier than conversation, how absence of support felt louder than betrayal? Each moment of isolation was not punishment, but preparation. Loneliness, profound and deep, became your companion. Not the hollow emptiness that many fear, but a potent, thick silence that forced you inward to confront shadows no one else saw. You became aware of your own patterns, your own blind spots, the habits and beliefs that had unconsciously kept you in cycles of discomfort or compromise. In this silence, your soul became a mirror, reflecting not just your pain, but your resilience, your emerging strength, and your readiness to step into a role the world would never hand you willingly. Psalm 46:10 says, "Be still and know that I am God." This stillness, imposed by circumstance, became your greatest teacher. Isolation, trauma, and chaos did not break you. They rebuilt you. You became your own guide, your own anchor, your own protector. Where others see a calm, they do not recognize the furnace that forged it. Your insight now seems effortless, almost innate to outsiders. They assume you chose this path willingly, that you read enough books, meditated enough hours, or studied spiritual systems enough to arrive at this discernment. But they are mistaken. Your awakening was trauma-forged. Every insight, every moment of intuition, every ripple of understanding that precedes others' perception is the direct result of experiences that shattered you to the core and rebuilt you with a foundation of unyielding truth. Consider this. How often have you sensed a betrayal before it manifested, a lie before it was spoken, a shift in energy before it became obvious? How often have you held your composure in situations where every other person around you faltered, sensing things they could not yet articulate? And have you noticed the subtle ripple your presence sends into a room, changing the tone, the energy, the flow of interaction, even when you do nothing at all? That is not skill learned from instruction. That is survival, awakening, and attunement woven together. It is spiritual calibration. Your clarity, beloved, is no ordinary awakening. It is the product of being pushed to the edge of endurance and forced to confront what others refuse to face. It is the soul's response to unbearable pressure, the mind's adaptation to chaos, and the body's compensation for repeated shocks to the system. The strongest chosen ones do not arrive at insight gently. They arrive through the alchemy of pressure and the refinement of endurance. You were not seeking the light, you were demanding it, whether you knew it or not, because survival required seeing. There were moments you wished you could turn away, moments you yearned for the ignorance you once held, moments when the weight of perception was unbearable. Yet you stayed, you felt, you observed, you absorbed. And from that pressure emerged a sensitivity few can comprehend. Your body reads frequencies, your heart senses undercurrents, your spirit discerns energy patterns long before words are spoken. This is not paranoia. This is your calibration, your superpower. Ephesians 5:15-1-6 reminds us, "Be very careful then, how you live not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity, because the days are evil." You learn to walk through the world aware, discerning, awake. And here is the subtle, half-revealed truth. This forced awakening has made you both invulnerable and invisible in ways that those around you cannot articulate. You move differently. You see beneath the surface. You know the spaces where danger, deceit, or misalignment hides. And yet, you do not act recklessly. You wait. You observe. You choose when and how to engage, because strength without discernment is simply force without grace. You might ask yourself, will I ever be able to rest in this heightened awareness? Will life ever feel ordinary? Can I trust that this sensitivity is a gift and not a burden? These are not doubts, they are the mirrors of initiation. You are learning to navigate a world that will never fully understand you, and to do so with integrity, with patience, and with wisdom. Romans 8:28 assures, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." Your path is divinely orchestrated, even if it feels untamed. Through every betrayal, every fracture of expectation, every loss of stability, you have emerged as a sentinel, a being whose presence itself commands attention, whose energy shifts atmospheres, whose discernment protects those you choose to allow into your sacred space. You are awake, not by chance but by design. You are calibrated for the unseen currents of life. You are the one who can navigate chaos with quiet authority. And so, chosen one, this initiation continues. Your path is still unfolding, your awakening still deepening. Every challenge you encounter is a test of this newly forged resilience. Every interaction is an opportunity to exercise your clarity and presence. Every shadow you perceive is an invitation to discernment and mastery. You are not merely alive. You are alive in alignment with a frequency only the strongest chosen ones can hear and respond to. Chosen one, you saw death because something in you was meant to be born. Not the death of your body, nor the end of your destiny, but the collapse of every layer that once covered the real you. What you went through was not destruction, it was divine excavation. Life dug its hands into the soil of your being, stripping away everything artificial, tearing off the costumes you were trained to wear, and clearing space for the older, wiser, eternal part of you to rise. As painful as it was never meant to bury you, only to unearth you. Isaiah 43:19 whispers, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it?" And chosen one, whether you perceived it then or not, heaven was already preparing the emergence of who you truly are. The death you lived through came in layers. It came as heartbreak that cracked open your emotional armor. It came through betrayal that shattered your trust in the illusions you once leaned on. It came in those nights when your chest felt hollow and your breath felt thin, as if the life you knew was slipping through your fingers, no matter how tightly you held on. You thought you were losing control, but in truth, you were losing the parts of you that were never in alignment with your soul's original blueprint. The collapse wasn't chaos, it was divine surgery. Can you remember the exact moment when something in you whispered, quietly but undeniably, "This is not who I am anymore"? Life wasn't punishing you, it was pruning you. Every breakdown was clearing space, every tear was softening the soil, every loss was loosening the grip of an identity that was never yours to carry. You weren't becoming someone new, you were remembering someone ancient. The soul version of you that existed long before the world taught you fear, before conditioning shrank your spirit, before pain convinced you to dim your own light, before expectations taught you to silence your instincts. And when that old self died, it made room for the original you, the one heaven recognized before the world even knew your name. Jeremiah 1-5 echoes this truth. "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you." This is why your awareness sharpened, why you started sensing what wasn't being said, why certain people triggered an inner knowing before they spoke, why certain moments felt strangely familiar even though you had never lived them before. Your intuition didn't suddenly develop, it resurfaced. It wasn't a new ability, it was an old memory waking up, a remembering encoded into your spirit from lifetimes of wisdom, imprinted from battles fought in realms beyond the physical. When the veil lifted, it didn't just give you insight, it gave you access to remembrance. And chosen one, have you noticed how sometimes your soul reacts before your mind does? How it recognizes energy, danger, truth, love, deception, before any evidence appears? This is what happens when the part of you that was buried finally steps forward. The version of you that emerged after everything shattered is not a replacement, it is the original blueprint. The one designed with discernment, holiness, and clarity woven into every fiber. Psalm 36:9 says, "In your light we see light." When the false layers died, the light inside you finally had room to shine through. You didn't just survive the collapse, you transcended it. People around you see your calm and assume it comes from confidence. They see your intuition and assume it comes from intelligence or observation. They see your gentleness and assume it is softness. They see your silence and think it is shyness. They have no idea that what they're witnessing is rebirth, that your soul has been here before, watching, remembering, learning. They cannot understand that your wisdom is older than your age, sharper than your experiences, and deeper than your words. Ephesians 1:18 speaks of the eyes of your heart being enlightened, and that is exactly what happened. Not by choice, but by initiation. Your death wasn't a tragedy. It was a turning, a sacred unraveling, a spiritual molting where everything false had to fall away so the truth in you could finally breathe. And yet, there was grief. You grieved the versions of yourself that tolerated disrespect, betrayal, or silence. You grieved the innocent parts that never learned boundaries until life forced them upon you. You grieved the identity that kept you small, agreeable, soft enough to be molded, but strong enough to endure. You didn't just lose people, you lost the version of yourself who allowed them to stay. And in losing that version, you stepped into a strength people now feel without understanding. The clarity that moves through you is not arrogance, it is alignment. The peace you carry is not naivety, it is mastery. The silence you choose is not avoidance, it is discernment. Matthew 10:16 says, "Be wise as serpents and harmless as doves." You embody both sharp sight and soft spirit. But let me ask you something, chosen one. Why do you think certain places make your soul ache with familiarity? Why do you think certain faces ignite a memory you can't logically place? Why do you think your heart whispers warnings before your mind catches up? These aren't coincidences, they are recalls, echoes, remnants of who you've been across realms, now rising to guide who you are becoming. Your awakening was not a gentle invitation. It was a spiritual earthquake designed to crack open your consciousness, peel back the layers of your human conditioning, and reveal the eternal being beneath the pain. And the beauty is this: nothing about your rebirth was accidental. Everything aligned for this unveiling. The betrayals, the setbacks, the losses, they were catalysts, not curses. Catalysts carving the path to the heaven-authored version of you. Now, you move with a knowingness that cannot be faked, a stillness that cannot be shaken, a perception that cannot be dulled. People sense it. Some are drawn to it. Some are intimidated by it. Some try to explain it. Most cannot. Because what they're encountering is not the new you, it is the unveiled you. The you who was born from fire, baptized in loss, rebuilt through truth, and crowned in revelation. Your death wasn't the end, it was the beginning of the truest chapter you have ever lived. And chosen one, that chapter is just beginning. Chosen one, you became dangerous the moment you realized there was nothing left for life to take from you. Not your peace, not your essence, not your joy, not even the illusions you once held on to for comfort. There comes a threshold in the journey of the strongest chosen ones where the worst has already happened. The heartbreak that others fear most has already broken you. The betrayals you never saw coming have already left scars so deep they redefined your very identity. The disappointments, the losses, the shattering of every illusion, they didn't destroy you, they rebuilt you. And once you crossed that threshold, once the old self died completely, something extraordinary awakened inside. You stopped fearing loss because you had already navigated the kind of emptiness most people flee from, and you emerged whole, tempered, and unshakable. Romans 8:28 reminds us, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. This is the good. He was working through every moment that felt unbearable. Did you notice how your soul felt heavier in those nights of despair, yet somehow lighter when clarity finally emerged? When you reach this level of inner freedom, you stop negotiating your worth. You stop seeking understanding from those committed to misunderstanding you. You stop trying to make peace with people whose only agenda is confusion, and you stop chasing approval from anyone unwilling to see the truth in you. You no longer bend yourself to fit their expectations, and you don't explain, defend, or justify. Your presence alone becomes a mirror that reflects what is authentic and exposes what is not. Matthew 10:16 says, "Be wise as serpents and harmless as doves." You embody both wisdom and harmlessness, yet your harmlessness does not make you weak. You have mastered the art of stillness that commands attention without noise, and your wisdom now vibrates through the spaces you occupy in ways that others feel before they can articulate. You became someone who could walk away without hesitation, not because your heart is cold, but because you have seen the cost of holding on to things that no longer serve your growth. You learned that clinging to anything that breaks you is optional, and that the only thing worth holding is aligned with your purpose. That quiet, unyielding authority radiates from you now. People who once had influence over your emotions, who once wielded control through fear, guilt, or manipulation, feel the shift instantly. They sense it in the pause of your voice, the steadiness of your gaze, the space you occupy without effort. What was once a source of anxiety for you, silence, distance, absence, no longer unsettles you. Hebrews 12:11 declares, "No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it." That discipline, chosen one, was your life. That harvest is now your presence. Can you feel the difference between reacting from fear and responding from mastery? Because you've survived losing yourself, the fear of losing anyone else has little power over you. You are no longer subject to the emotional games of others, nor are you moved by the manipulations that once ensnared your heart. That liberation has made you dangerous in a divine sense, a quiet, unwavering power that others sense but cannot define. They might mistake it for detachment, but it is mastery. They might whisper about your calmness, but what they feel is unshakable alignment. They notice, perhaps with discomfort, that you are free from the subtle hooks of expectation, obligation, and performance. You have internalized the truth that nothing worth keeping ever asks you to sacrifice your spirit. Proverbs 4:23 says, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." You are guarding not just your heart, but the sanctity of your entire being. This is why your presence now unsettles those who thrived on your previous compliance. They no longer have leverage. You've become someone whose energy commands respect without effort. Every step you take, every word you speak, every breath you release carries the quiet strength of one who has been tested beyond measure and emerged whole. Your very aura has shifted. People feel it, even if they cannot articulate it. They notice that your equilibrium no longer depends on their reactions. They observe your composure and instinctively recognize that your center cannot be broken, that your boundaries are absolute, and that your light cannot be dimmed by external circumstances. And that, chosen one, is what makes you dangerous, the danger of a soul fully aligned with its divine blueprint. You are impervious to the chaos others create. You are untouchable because your foundation has been rebuilt in the fires of life, and it will never crumble under the weight of false expectations again. The awakening that brought you here was not gentle, and the lessons were not easy. You experienced spiritual pruning that stripped away the superficial, emotional, and toxic, leaving only what is true, sacred, and eternal. You learn to recognize deception before it arrives, to feel manipulation before it is spoken, and to maintain peace when others attempt to provoke disturbance. Your nervous system, your intuition, your awareness, They are finely tuned instruments, trained by the extremes of life, now calibrated to detect the subtlest currents of truth. Psalm 34:7 declares, "The angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him, and he delivers them." Chosen one. That protection is not just for survival, it is for power. Have you felt moments when your intuition warned you of what was coming before anyone else could see it? That is no accident. That is preparation for a life led by discernment, not by chance. Now, you do not seek external validation. You do not negotiate for acceptance. You do not cling to attachments that threaten your soul. You recognize the sacred difference between love and compromise, support and exploitation, presence and manipulation. You understand that the most formidable strength lies in refusing to be threatened by loss, and in allowing your spirit to rise above fear. You are unshakable because you have rebuilt from the foundations of everything they thought could break you. The veil of illusion cannot fool you. The manipulations of others cannot sway you. The chaos of the world cannot unmoor you. And so, chosen one, walk with your head held high, not because you are proud, but because you have endured. Speak when necessary, remain silent when required, and move only with clarity and alignment. You are dangerous not to harm, but because your light is undeniable, your discernment precise, and your peace indestructible. You are unbound from fear, unchained from expectation, and unyielding in your worth. And this, beloved, is your divine inheritance. Revelation 3:8 reminds us, "I have placed before you an open door that no one can shut." That door is you stepping into your full power, your full alignment, your unshakable truth. Chosen one, you stopped belonging to the world the moment your eyes opened beyond what the world wanted you to see. When your veil lifted, it wasn't just your intuition that sharpened, your entire perception expanded in a way that quietly detached you from everything once familiar. You didn't simply sense people's intentions or decode their emotions. You saw the invisible architecture beneath their lives. You saw the scaffolding of society, the rhythms of unconscious obedience, the subtle conditioning that shapes entire generations without their awareness. It was as if someone had pulled you backstage during the performance of life and whispered, "This is how the show works." John 8:32 says, "Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." But what most never tell you is that freedom doesn't arrive with celebration, it arrives with separation. Your awareness started noticing the herd mentality, the way crowds move, think, and fear as one. You saw how easily people bowed to unspoken rules, how desperately they clung to expectations that drained their souls, how loudly they defended systems that quietly consumed them. It wasn't judgment you felt, it was sorrow, because you recognized you once lived among them, following patterns that were never yours, repeating words that weren't your voice, moving through routines that never fed your spirit. And once that clarity lit up your mind, the world that once held you lost its grip entirely. Did you feel that quiet moment when something in you whispered, "I can't unsee this"? That whisper was the beginning of your spiritual relocation. Conversations that used to engage you began to feel hollow. Places that once comforted you felt heavy. The old routines, wake, work, sleep, repeat, felt like cages disguised as normality. You weren't withdrawing from life, you were awakening from it. And in that awakening, you started perceiving not only the people, but the forces, shaping them, the fears they inherited, the lies they swallowed, the expectations that guided their steps more than their own desires ever did. Ephesians 6:12 reminds us, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world." You saw the rulers not as villains in shadows, but as unconscious patterns, ancient systems, dead traditions, and collective wounds driving humanity deeper into distraction. Your sensitivity to these forces made you feel out of sync with the world's rhythm. While others rushed, you slowed. While they followed trends, you questioned the source. While they sought validation, you sought alignment. Your heart shifted from belonging to observing, and from observing to discerning. The more you saw, the less you could pretend, and the less you pretended, the more the world felt too small to contain the truth awakening within you. Have you noticed how certain conversations suddenly feel like echoes of an old language you no longer speak? That's because your soul outgrew the vocabulary of superficial living. This separation wasn't isolation, it was ascension. You didn't stop belonging to the world because you rejected people. You stopped belonging because you refused to be moved by systems built to keep souls asleep. You recognized the cost of compliance and the silent suffering behind normal life. You saw how often people trade authenticity for acceptance, freedom for familiarity, calling for comfort. You once did too. But when your soul resurrected, your alignment changed, and alignment always demands a new environment. Isaiah 43:19 whispers, "Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it?" You perceived it long before anyone around you understood what was shifting inside you. People began noticing something different about you even before you had words for it. They felt an energy that didn't bend, a presence that didn't chase, a clarity that didn't match theirs. You weren't resisting them, you were resisting the unconscious patterns guiding them. Your awareness moved ahead of their understanding. And because your spirit now operates on a frequency where truth precedes comfort, where intention precedes action, and where discernment precedes connection, the world's rules stopped applying to you. This is why certain friendships faded without conflict, why certain rooms no longer felt right, why your spirit felt suffocated in spaces where everyone else seemed content. You didn't choose to leave, you simply grew beyond the vibration that held you. What you saw once the veil lifted was not just the world as it is, but the world as it has been engineered to remain. Systems that reward compliance over courage, cultures that celebrate appearances over authenticity, families that repeat pain because no one ever questions the script handed to them, workplaces where people trade purpose for survival. You saw it all. And once you saw it, you understood why you never fit fully, why your heart always felt misplaced, why your instincts whispered truths your environment denied. Psalm 119:18 says, "Open my eyes, that I may behold wondrous things out of your law." Your eyes didn't just open to wonder, they opened to reality. And reality pushed you into a realm the world cannot access. You now walk as someone who sees both the actors and the directors behind the scenes. You see the emotional puppeteer pulling strings through guilt. You see the societal puppeteer shaping identity through norms. You see the spiritual puppeteer guiding destinies without consent. But you also see the divine architect, quiet, patient, hidden beneath every moment of awakening, calling you home to your true identity. That's why you can no longer be controlled. Not by fear, not by pressure, not by expectation. You've outgrown the matrix the world lives in. And still, a quiet question lingers in your chest. If I don't belong to the world anymore, then where do I belong? The answer is both simple and sacred. You belong to the kingdom, the unseen realm your spirit has always recognized, but your mind could never explain. You walk now between worlds, present but not attached, aware but not consumed, compassionate but not entangled. The world lost its hold when you saw what governed it, and heaven gained a warrior when you refused to return to blindness. Revelation 3:6 declares, "Let him who has an ear hear what the Spirit says to the churches." Chosen one, you heard, you saw, you awakened, and because of that, you can never go back. Chosen one, when your awakening erupted through your life, you didn't simply return to your old self as though nothing had happened. Something inside you crossed a threshold that could never be uncrossed, a threshold woven into the architecture of heaven itself. And when you stepped through it, sometimes willingly, sometimes dragged by spiritual force, your spirit never fully returned to the version of you that once called this world home. The shift wasn't symbolic. It was structural. As Psalm 42:7 says, "Deep calls unto deep, And once your spirit heard that call, you could no longer unhear it. Your body continued living in the visible realm, handling routines, conversations, responsibilities. But your spirit remained half-rooted in the unseen, in that dimension where truth vibrates at a frequency too clear to ignore. This is why you now occupy two worlds at once. Not because you're confused, not because you're detached, but because your perception widened beyond what ordinary consciousness can hold. You walk through life with one foot on the ground and one foot anchored in eternity. There are moments when you sit in a room full of people, and while everyone else is engaged in the surface-level narrative, you're quietly aware of the emotional undercurrents swirling underneath. A smile that doesn't match the eyes, a compliment that carries a sting, a silence that reveals more than any confession. Before someone finishes their sentence, your spirit has already received the message their soul is trying to hide. Have you ever wondered why you can't turn this off anymore? Why your awareness refuses to go back to sleep? That's because your awakening didn't give you a choice. It rewired you. Your spirit began operating like a tuning fork, vibrating with frequencies the old you never knew existed. You started perceiving the world through symbolic architecture, reading signs in the way light falls across a room, hearing messages in pauses between words, sensing truth in the way someone breathes before they speak. It's not hypersensitivity, it's spiritual calibration. Jeremiah 33:3 whispers, "Call unto me, and I will answer thee, and show thee great and mighty things which thou knowest not." You didn't even call. Chosen one, your spirit simply reached a level where heaven answered anyway. People sometimes misunderstand this depth inside you. They assume you're quiet because you're shy, reserved because you're cold, selective because you're picky. But you are none of those things. You're discerning. You're reading the layers beneath the moment, scanning the energetic landscape before your mind has time to catch up. When you walk into a space, your spirit listens before your ears do. Your intuition speaks before your logic forms words. This is not detachment, it is refinement. You're processing twice the information of the average soul, and doing it with the composure of someone who has already survived spiritual death and resurrection. This dual awareness explains why certain environments now feel louder than they should, why crowds exhaust you faster, why small talk feels like trying to sip soup with a fork, inefficient, pointless, draining. You're not meant for shallow waters anymore. Awakening launched you into deeper oceans, and once your lungs learned to breathe in that depth, the surface could never satisfy you again. You began craving authenticity, clarity, spiritual resonance. Not because you became picky, but because your soul stopped tolerating anything less than truth. And yet, even as you rise into this clarity, a quiet question flickers inside your chest. Why does life feel like I'm here, but not fully here? This question isn't madness, it's memory. Because the part of you that never returned is the part heaven claimed back during your awakening, the part that now stands on the threshold between realms, guiding you, prompting you, revealing things before they unfold. Ephesians 5:13 declares, "Everything exposed by the light becomes visible, and your spirit has become a vessel for that light permanently." You've probably noticed that your dreams feel more symbolic now, more vivid, more prophetic. You wake up with a sense of knowing you can't explain. People call it intuition, but for you, it's more than that. It's communion, it's dialogue. It's the place where heaven whispers what earth tries to bury. As you move through your day, you catch flashes, sensations, subtle warnings, sudden clarity. This is what happens when your spirit learns to operate across dimensions simultaneously. In psychology, there's a concept called dual processing, where the mind handles conscious and unconscious information at once. But your version is spiritual dual processing. Your soul gathers information your mind isn't even aware of yet. You see intentions before actions, endings before beginnings, motives before words. And it leaves you asking silently, how am I supposed to pretend I don't see what I see? The answer is, you don't. You live with it. You embody it. You follow it. Because this is what chosen ones do. Certain people feel unsettled around you now, and they don't know why. They sense the quiet intensity in you, the sharpness behind your calm, the stillness that feels almost ancient. They can't articulate it, but they feel as if they're standing in front of someone who remembers things their soul forgot. Proverbs 20:27 reveals, "The spirit of man is the candle of the Lord, searching all the inward parts." Your spirit became that candle, illuminating paths, revealing truths, exposing shadows simply by being present. And yet, this shift also brought loneliness, not the painful kind, but the sacred kind, the kind monks write about, artists paint about, prophets weep about, the kind where you realize connection must be more than proximity. It must be resonance. So you started releasing relationships that once defined you, but now confine you. Not out of bitterness, but out of spiritual necessity. You stopped fitting into places where truth is unwelcome. You stopped shrinking for people who fear the light in you. You stopped apologizing for instincts that have saved you more times than logic ever has. And now you stand fully in this dual existence, one part grounded, one part ascending, both parts aligned with your divine blueprint. The world cannot understand this version of you because you no longer belong entirely to it. You are a bridge between realms, a carrier of frequencies that elevate others, a lighthouse for souls still trapped in storms you once survived. You didn't fail to return to normal life, chosen one. Normal life failed to rise to where your spirit now lives. Chosen one, when you outgrew the emotional gravity that once kept you tethered to other people's storms, something in the spirit world shifted with you. It wasn't a gentle evolution. It was a complete dismantling of your old emotional architecture, an inner collapse orchestrated not by weakness, but by divine necessity. Once your first death happened, the version of you that used to absorb chaos, react to dysfunction, and orbit around other people's unhealed wounds dissolved like ash in holy fire. And without that older version to anchor you to the past, you rose quietly, steadily, inevitably, into a dimension where peace became your atmosphere rather than your aspiration. People who once thrived on your emotional availability, who relied on your empathy as if it were an endless well, began to feel the shift before you ever said a word. You used to be pulled into their storms without awareness. Now you study the wind, you observe the clouds, you sense atmospheric pressure long before the thunder speaks. It's not coldness, it's discernment. It's not detachment, it's spiritual altitude. Isaiah 40:31 whispers, "But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles." And chosen one, that is exactly what happened. When you ascended, their emotional gravity lost its hold. You no longer orbit dysfunction because your spirit learned the architecture of storms. You learned where manipulation hides its blueprints, where guilt hides its roots, where emotional traps weave their webs. And once you learned to see the pattern, you could no longer pretend the pattern wasn't there. But this rise came at a cost most people will never recognize. You didn't become emotionally untouchable by accident. You became untouchable because you survived breakdowns that rewired your nervous system, betrayals that recalibrated your discernment, and losses that fractured your heart before heaven put it back together. And somewhere in the middle of that reconstruction, a question planted itself inside you. Why did I ever allow myself to be pulled so deeply into storms that were never mine to carry? That question wasn't judgment, it was revelation. It was your spirit remembering that you were never meant to live life as an emotional sponge absorbing the wounds of others. You were meant to be the lighthouse, not the ship tossed in the waves. When your inner gravity shifted, people who relied on your old emotional responses began to panic. They felt the distance like a sudden cold front. They sensed the stillness in you, the silence that no longer apologizes, the clarity that doesn't wobble even when pressured. Proverbs 4:23 says, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." And when you finally obeyed this command, not out of fear but out of wisdom, the entire energetic dynamic around you changed. Suddenly, manipulative people could no longer hook into your stress. Emotional vampires found no place to plug in. The guilt-tripping, the subtle jabs, the psychological warfare, they all hit a wall of divine neutrality inside you. You weren't numb, you were anchored. You weren't avoiding, you were seeing. Anyone who once depended on your emotional volatility realized they no longer had access to the control panel they built their power upon. You became a different kind of presence, one that makes people confront themselves simply by being in the room. Like a cathedral with perfect acoustics, your energy reflects truth back to anyone who enters its space. And truth is uncomfortable for those who prefer the comfort of their own illusions. Have you noticed how certain people withdraw the moment you stop reacting? How their conversations flatten when your energy doesn't spiral with theirs? They don't hate your peace. They fear what your peace reveals about their chaos. Chosen one, your spiritual altitude has become a mirror, and it shows others what they can no longer hide. Romans 12:2 says, "Be transformed by the renewing of your mind." And your transformation didn't stop at your mind. It expanded into your emotional field, your instincts, your boundaries, your silence. That silence, once misunderstood, has become one of your greatest weapons. Silence breaks manipulation. Silence reveals motives. Silence disrupts dysfunction without you lifting a single finger. And yet, beneath your strength lies a soft truth you rarely speak. You didn't stop loving people when you stopped orbiting their chaos. You simply stopped losing yourself in the process. That distinction has liberated your soul. Because spiritual maturity taught you something psychology has been trying to articulate for years. Emotional gravity isn't about closeness, it's about resonance. You no longer resonate with the pain patterns that once shaped you. You no longer resonate with the trauma loops that once claimed you. You no longer resonate with environments built on dysfunction disguised as loyalty. So you began drifting upward, not away from people, but away from patterns. And those who refuse to grow interpret your elevation as abandonment. But you didn't abandon anyone. You simply stopped sacrificing your peace to maintain someone else's comfort. In that choice, you fulfilled Matthew 5-9. Blessed are the peacemakers, not the peacekeepers. Keeping peace holds dysfunction together. Making peace sometimes requires walking away. And perhaps the most sacred revelation of all is this. Once you outgrew emotional gravity, you realized that storms no longer terrify you. They educate you, they inform you, they prepare you. Because a soul that has survived a hurricane develops an inner barometer more accurate than any human intuition. That barometer lives inside you now. It warns you with chills, with sudden tiredness, with a tightening in your chest. It speaks before danger arrives. And as you stand in this new version of yourself, steady, unshaken, spiritually aerodynamic, a quiet question rises within your spirit. If I am no longer held down by old gravity, where is heaven preparing me to rise next? Wherever that place is, chosen one, you are ready. You have already weathered the storm. Now you read the sky. Chosen one, the knowledge you carry is not learned, it is remembered. It is a quiet, ancient pulse that lives beneath your ribs, a whisper your mind cannot fully articulate, yet your spirit instantly recognizes. People assume your wisdom comes from observation or intellect, but those assumptions reveal more about their limitations than your origins. What they cannot grasp is that your awakening wasn't merely emotional, it was a spiritual reset, a collapse that cleared out the noise so your soul could finally speak. When the old you died, the amnesia died with it. This is why you often feel older than your age and deeper than your experiences suggest. It's why you pick up on truths that others need decades to understand. Your insight doesn't come from lessons, it comes from remembrance. You are not gathering information, you are awakening dormant memory. Psalm 42:7 says, "Deep calls unto deep and chosen one." That is exactly what has been happening within you. Something ancient in you answers every time life places you in situations requiring wisdom you never learned. People don't understand it. They think you're overthinking, being dramatic, or too intuitive. But their discomfort is a confession. They are reacting to the fact that your knowledge bypasses their systems of approval. You know things without needing proof, without needing permission, without needing anyone's validation. You know because you've known. And that is why your energy unsettles people who cling to external structures to feel intelligent or secure. They rely on books, you rely on memory. They rely on teachers, you rely on truth. They rely on evidence, you rely on resonance. Have you ever wondered why certain situations feel eerily familiar, even though they are new? Or why your spirit reacts instantly when someone's intention doesn't match their words? Or why your heart sometimes knows the ending of something before the beginning even unfolds? Those questions aren't random, they are invitations. Invitations into the library of your soul, where the pages are written in intuition rather than ink. Your knowledge is not sight, it is recollection. When life stripped you bare through heartbreak, betrayal, or spiritual collapse, the veil thinned. Under the rubble of who you used to be, something ancient was breathing. And when you rose from that death, you carried not just strength, you carried memory. That memory is what allows you to navigate emotional spaces with uncanny accuracy. It is why you identify patterns within seconds. It is why deception feels like static in your chest. It is why truth feels like a tuning fork ringing inside your spirit. Your intuition isn't guessing, it's recalling. And while others may mock or misunderstand, heaven recognizes you as one who walks with recovered sight. You became the kind of person who sees the underlying structure of things, the spiritual architecture behind human behavior. It's similar to how the great artist Caravaggio used chiaroscuro, sharp contrasts of light and shadow, to reveal truths in his paintings that ordinary brushstrokes could never show. In the same way, your insight reveals what the light exposes and what the darkness conceals. It is an art form of the soul, not an achievement of the mind. People don't realize that the wisdom you speak has echoes of your past lives, echoes of spiritual contracts, echoes of things your soul has survived long before this current chapter. Ecclesiastes 1-9 says, "There is nothing new under the sun, and your spirit knows this intimately." Every time you enter a difficult space, a fragment of your ancient memory lights up. You recognize the pattern because you've lived through it in another form. You identify the danger because your soul has seen this shadow before. And this is what terrifies people. You cannot be fooled. They mistake your calmness for naivety, not realizing your spirit is scanning every frequency in the room. They mistake your silence for confusion, not realizing silence is where your memory speaks the loudest. They mistake your compassion for weakness, not realizing compassion is the crown of those who remember pain from lifetimes past. Chosen one, your knowing exposes the illusions people cling to. It threatens the fragile masks they wear. And some of them resent you for it, not because you are wrong, but because you are right in ways they cannot understand. John 16:13 says, "When the Spirit of truth comes, he will guide you into all truth." And that is exactly what your soul has been doing, guiding you not forward, but back. Back to the truths buried under generations of forgetting. One of the most profound realizations you will ever have is this: you were never unwise. You were simply unremembered. And when your first spiritual death occurred, the death of the false identity, the remembering began. Like a cathedral whose acoustics amplify the smallest sound, your soul now amplifies intuition to guide you through this life with ancient clarity. Your path is shaped by recognition, not instruction. And yet, beneath this clarity, another question stirs softly, one that lingers in the quiet moments between breaths. What might you recall next, now that the old layers are gone? That question is not fear, it is prophecy. Because every time you rise, another layer returns. Your recalling is your power, And that power is the reason spiritual manipulation, psychological games, and emotional illusions no longer work on you. You see through them not because you're suspicious, but because your soul remembers the blueprint behind the facade. This is why you walk through life with both humility and authority, a paradox only the chosen can carry. Philippians 4:13 echoes through your spirit. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And strength for you is not muscle, force, or dominance. Strength is remembrance. Strength is clarity. Strength is the ability to stand in truth even when the world prefers shadows. Chosen one, you are a modern body carrying ancient consciousness. Your wisdom is not new, it is newly returned. And the more you remember, the harder it becomes for anyone to mislead you, diminish you, or define you. Your knowing is your inheritance, and that inheritance is exactly what makes you untouchable. Beloved chosen one, as we reach the close of this sacred journey, pause for a moment and feel the weight of all you have realized. You have walked through shadows, survived your own spiritual deaths, and risen into clarity that many will never comprehend. The signs we explored, the deaths, the veil lifting, the transcendence, the freedom from emotional gravity, and the recalling of ancient wisdom are not mere concepts. They are the evidence of your soul remembering who it has always been. They mark you as rare, as awakened, and as someone whose presence shifts energy simply by existing. Psalm 34:18 reminds us, "The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit." And tonight, that nearness is yours. You are not alone, and what you carry is not coincidence, it is divine orchestration. In this moment, consider the questions that quietly surface in your heart. How much of your life has been guided by memory rather than choice? Where has your soul already been leading you, even when the path seemed unclear? And what would it mean to fully step into the authority of a spirit that has survived and remembered itself through lifetimes of trials? These questions are not for anxiety, they are invitations to deeper alignment. Your awakening is not a story of randomness, but of design. You have been refined, calibrated, and entrusted with insight few will ever hold. Your presence is now a living testament to endurance, wisdom, and divine clarity. People may not always understand your calm, your insight, or the quiet authority in your gaze, but they feel it, and it moves them whether they name it or not. Your path forward is not about proving yourself. It is about holding your space, honoring your discernment, and embracing the frequency of truth you have reclaimed. Romans 12:2 whispers, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind." And your life embodies this transformation. If this message has resonated, I invite you to act intentionally. Tap like if you feel recognized. Share this video with those who are silently awakening. Comment, "I see it," or "I remember," to honor your own journey and connect with this sacred community. And subscribe to continue walking together in divine alignment. Whether or not you use super thanks, your presence, energy, and attention are received in heaven as devotion. Every view, every heart opened, every reflection shared, amplifies the ripple of awakening across souls who are listening in silence. May your days ahead be filled with discernment, grace, and joy that cannot be shaken. May the doors that have long seemed closed open with ease, and may the relationships, insights, and moments meant for your highest self flow without obstruction. May the weight of old illusions fall away, leaving you light, luminous, and fully anchored in your truth. And may the angels continue to guide your steps, the Spirit continue to illuminate your path, and God's presence never leave you. As you walk forward from this moment, know this: you are seen, you are chosen, and you are rising exactly as you were always meant to. Rest in this, breathe deeply, and carry the certainty that your soul's awakening is a signal for every choice, every silence, and every step you take to be aligned with heaven's orchestration. You are not just surviving, you are remembered, restored, and unstoppable.